I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm exhausted after trying to. I hate that. Like, I have to remember so many things and so many names when you do a show that my brain, like, overloads. When I'm done with my show, I usually watch something super fluffy, like Masterpiece Theater, and, like, let my brain rest.
Yeah. What? When when the whole thing about that Hoffman and Hortman shooting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How is it that they? I mean, the guy wears a mask, right? But yet,
Yeah.
within hours, literally hours, they already have him identified as a suspect, right? And they catch him like within literally within hours. How did that happen? I mean, I don't understand that. They that whole thing is fishy from the get go.
Right.
And
We don't know, but I do remember last week that Tim Walz jumped right out and said it was a politically motivated murder, and that in essence they knew what it was about.
right.
It was Tim Walz that showed up in the news saying he knew what it was about. It was politically motivated out of nowhere.
Well, they're all politically motivated. I mean, just just ask any Democrat, you know. So
Right. So, I mean, it was just, yeah, it's just something really weird going on with all of that. I mean, this week was crazy.
yeah,
I don't know how much, I don't know if you're listening to my show or not, but I mean, it's like everything's tied to a Q post, and it's wink, wink, nod, nod everywhere. And the media was going out of their minds, and all these people are running around, Bannon's running around. And it's like, what on earth is going on? But it is nuts. And then on the background, you have this crazy Minnesota story going on. And the entire internet suddenly is a bot army trying to influence you to be either pro or against Israel. I'm like, and anyone that knows me, like, I don't know how many times Soko and I have argued for like 2 hours about the whole Israel thing. Like, Israel's the last thing I ever want to talk about, really, honestly, because people just get so emotional about it because there's that religious component. Plus, we've all been traumatized to ever appear to be anti Semitic, which on every level makes no sense, but that's what they've done since the whole World War II thing. And it's such a big topic, and I just avoid it. And now here I am doing almost a whole show on it.
yeah. I avoid the whole Israel thing too because it. I mean, it's like I said. I think it was yesterday or Thursday morning. I said, there's lies on both sides, and you've got to use the discernment about uh, what you're going to believe. And I get it, but you got to remember the deep state, the cabal, these evil people are all over the world. So you know, whoever you're fighting, make sure you're fighting the right people and not letting yourself be led by emotion to whatever side you're going to pick on. So that's how I feel about it. Uh, I
Right.
know.
There were people watching, like, people have watched certain people like Nick Fuentes and that, where clearly they have either paid or unpaid bots or followers or both who gain, like, we know this. Remember with oh, well, I can't remember, like, that Hot Pocket crew. There's crews that sit out there and just pile on people and attack and then think up narratives and put them out there. And it kind of calmed down for a while. And now all of a sudden, uh, this Israel thing is huge. I just wonder, like, Israel, Mossad, their whole deal really is psyops more than anything else. And I kind of don't blame them. I mean, Israel lives in a very bad neighborhood, and they need the whole world to just constantly be on their side. So it's in their own best interest to be psyoping our brains out every day, all day. And you just got to wonder how many of these, like Q lover, MAGA, best ever, like that, the one of these red pill something just got outed. He's like a is Iranian guy or whatever. Like, how many of these accounts are just a ticking time bomb that we really like, and one day they unmask, Like, I just, there's certain people who they are, but the ones you don't really know who they are, which I'm one of them. I mean, I'm an anon, so people probably think I'm full of it. Like, who's she? She could be some, Iranian dude or some Mossad agent, like in some sitting there in Israel somewhere. Whatever. You just don't know. But it was so crazy. I was seeing people get ganged up on big time, people going crazy about Tucker, who's saying the same thing he always says. And I'm like, this is like the whole freaking Israeli psyop team is attacking Tucker Carlson for being skeptical about going back to war in the Middle East, even though he says that like every single day ever for like the last 3 or 4 years. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think people forget the last thing President Trump wants to do is go to war. I don't think people realize that if I mean, he's going to do everything he can. He's not the warmongers that we're used to having out there. So whatever is going on, the last thing he wants to do is get into a war. And so whatever whoever you're listening to, I don't know. Like I said, I'm skeptical about everything that's being put out there. So I stopped. That's one reason why I stopped listening to a lot of these influencers, because it's like you're not going to convince me of one thing, and I got my ideas, and there's stuff you're not going to convince me of, but you know everybody's got to make their own decision what they're going to believe.
Okay, Big Lee. One of my favorite songs is Hussein. Anyway, there were some good Islamic new wave songs in the 80s, actually, some of them very good. But no, I'm not an Iranian dude. But on Twitter, people might think so. I don't know.
Well,
um,
you talk about that. After what happened January 6th. And I was trying to tell people on Facebook that I knew people who were there. They were there and they saw what happened firsthand. And I was called a shield, a bot. I was called everything. It's like, okay, I just laughed at it because are you kidding me? I know people who were there, so they're gonna say what they're gonna say. I think that's funny.
yeah, Rock the Casbah, another one. There were some good Islamic things. So there's a great song called I think it's called Hussein. Uh but anyway. Um yeah, so it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, we used to have an Israeli guy who listened to Patriots Soapbox all the time, remember that? And he would like get all nutty sometimes. But we just thought he was an Israeli guy because he said he was. I don't know if he ever called in or not, if we ever had proof of that. But um yeah, but I mean the people who thinks Trump's going to get it, I think Trump is going to take action. He's meeting right now. Steve Bannon talked about having to do emergency broadcasts tonight. Who Steve Bannon's never done an emergency broadcast. He's not Alex Jones where every day is an emergency. I think Trump's going to take action. I don't know what the action will be. But Trump used to sit around like when Bush was in office and just get on. Remember when he used to call in to Greta Van Susteren, I think? And he would just rage about how stupid fighting wars in the Middle East was. And he did that the entire 20 years we were there. He'd call in the radio shows, he would go on CNN, whatever, and rage about these stupid Middle Eastern wars. So there's no way Trump's getting into a protracted war like that.
Nope. That's the last thing he wants to do. And I mean, the other thing, see what everybody remember when they've been trying to get us into World War III since his first administration, and he's always found a way out. You know, remember what happened to Syria and the whole, well, oh, how dare they? You know, the who was it? The leader, you know, gassed his own people, and you know, it turned out that President Trump, he had them do a surgical strike. He does a surgical strikes. He was taking out the bunkers, taking out the airfield to keep the planes grounded, so that he bypassed that. You know, so this whole idea is just a way of getting people all upset, and you know, all these people out there given whatever information they have, is to get people all upset, picking a side. Nah, it's like, don't fall for it, you know, don't fall for it.
Right. And then I believe he had Tucker Carlson and C. Bannon and Alex Jones and a bunch of these people out there talking crap because you never seen CNN and MSNBC so energized in your life. And they're out there talking smack, making total fools of themselves, discrediting themselves. Because I don't really believe that Tucker Carlson, who knows Trump, was at Fox, knows Trump for a long time, knew he called in all the time to say Middle Eastern wars are stupid. I don't believe Tucker Carlson really thinks that Trump was going to get tricked into a 20-year new Afghanistan quagmire. So I think it's just some plan, man, to make the left, like, make CNN and them and Fox News uncloak and go full crazy. Don't listen to Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and Eric Prince and all these people are running out here like acting nutty. And it just, everyone went into a frothing lunatic. And then online, you had the same thing. And so many people that were just kind of whatever accounts that I read, they unmasked. And now I know they're like, uh, either just in it for the clicks or they're secret agent man who's just been waiting to start a war because there's no other explanation to be supposedly MAGA and an close observer of Trump and then go like bananas like that. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Now, if it was somebody else, you know, like Biden or really anybody else, who could make money off a war and make the Pentagon and all the intelligence community super happy and love you and everything because you started another 20-year war for them so they have a career in a war. Okay, but Trump's never been about that. Never.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, I see you're doing like Colin's show, huh?
Well, I'm gonna try. I mean, if anybody wants to call in, and Dano and Big Lee, if you want to jump in, and or you can stay as long as you want to. It's just, you know, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do to at least keep everybody entertained. You do such a good job, and people like listening to you and the way you dig. So anyway, but the I I just, I don't worry about any of this. I just, if I did, I would be sitting in a rubber room going boom, 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 all the time. So you got to trust something. You got to trust somebody. So I believe President Trump. Oh, I do know what I wanted to say. Wouldn't it be a kick in the pants to find out that Iran and somehow that Iran and Israel and President Trump were all working together, and along with some other countries that people would. I think it would be a kick in the pants to find out that you know, you got to break the brainwashing somehow, and
Well, if
so
you're listening to earlier in my show, there is a conspiracy theory based on Q posts that may or may not be true that, you know, Israel is saved for last. And then the Q post talked about Iran and the people in Iran being puppets and the pallets of cash going to Iran. We'd talked in the Q post a lot about Uranium One and about North Korea and Iran and that being just puppets of the deep state and their ability to stay in business, if you want to call it that, is based on the fact the deep state gave them money, gave them nukes, whatever. So, but in return, when they want to affect domestic policy here, they call up Rocket Man and tell him, oh, we'll blast some rockets in the ocean, whatever, to scare whomever. Because remember, Obama said North Korea would be your biggest, oh, you're going to go to war because North Korea is going to do a nuke attack on us. Remember, that's what
Mm-hmm.
Obama told Trump when he left the White House. And sure enough, there in the beginning, Rocket Man was sending rockets, and then Trump said, oh, I have a bigger red button than you do. And then they were like, sending videos to North Korea about how North Korea, we could help you in a different way and make North Korea a economically viable state if
Mm-hmm.
you give up your nuke program. This is just kind of a replay of that, and this is all in the Q post. And then I was also talking about there's stuff floating around about Epstein. Why haven't they released the Epstein files? Supposed stories of Iranian hacks and Israel. If Epstein was Israel's, then who's really controlling people who did really bad pedo weird stuff? It wouldn't be us. It would be, or Trump. It would be Israel because they have the files. Two or all are the ones we don't have or whatever it is. So there is like scenarios out there that kind of make sense that we don't know if they're true or not. But to explain why there's this thing in the Q post about Israel is last, that you have to disarm all this other stuff to get Israel out of the business of blackmailing people and having all these operations. I mean, that's what Mossad does. They just said they're killing they killed scientists, like 9 scientists. Explain this. They claim they killed 9 nuclear scientists in Iran simultaneously while they slept in their own beds. How does that work? I mean, that's some spooky crap. We already know they did the pager thing. So these are some crafty they're definitely the most crafty, at least that we're aware of, intelligence service. I don't know that America ever killed nuclear scientists simultaneously while they slept in their own beds at home at night. How does that work?
I don't know, but remember the thing is this, the clowns, the American clowns, they fund both sides. They fund so many different sides to put in whatever they want, whoever they want to take over. That what is real anymore. So, and I mean, and think about this.
Right, but it's not even any more, Deb. I mean, the Roman Empire did the same thing. All these little princes and kings running around and such did the same thing. Chaos is where they thrive. So it's not even like this is a modern thing. It's actually a very old thing to be to keep people always at loggerheads and fund both sides. It's like not even a modern thing.
Well, and don't forget, how long have we been under threat of nuclear war? I mean, remember back in the 80s, the day after, and everybody was so afraid who had the thumb on the button, and even the 50s, people of the 50s doing the duck and cover. So I mean, the stuff has been around for so long. Uh, the threat of nuclear war has been for so long. Something's got to give.
Right. I mean, Gen X was terrified. I remember when that day after show came on, I mistakenly watched that because it was like a big TV event. I was like just terrified for years after that. I truly was. And it's just sick that obviously the deep state wanted to terrorize Gen Xers. And we've lived with this over our heads all this time. Like every song in the 80s was like a post apocalyptic thing. And you had all these Stephen King things with the Stand and all this. You had Mad Max. I mean, the war games, all this stuff to terrorize us. And then I love this in the news this week. So you're about my age. So they're saying that Social Security and Medicare are going to run out like basically the year that the first of the Gen Xers retire.
Yeah, I saw
They
that.
have terrorized us our entire freaking lives. And now they're telling us at the end of the road, you get nothing.
Nothing. Well, that's the reason.
You lose nothing. You get nothing.
What, don't you
It's
remember?
unbelievable.
But don't you remember in the 80s? That's the reason why they started the IRA scams, because you were too stupid to save money, because the Social Security was going to be running out between by 2020. I mean, it's kind of like climate change, just a different story, 2.0, 2.3, because this stuff has been going around for decades, and they say the same thing over and over again, and just to get people afraid to, okay, but let's see, what other scam can we come up with to take your money? So we're going to frighten you, so you're going to give us more money in our scams. But that's the way they did it. You remember that about the Social Security and what I just talked about? Oh yeah, the
Right.
IRAs.
7 years, the Social Security, Medicaid, and 7 years is up. I was listening to the Treasury dude, Besant, however you say his name. And he was saying, I've been wondering about why are we doing this stable coin thing? And so he was Miranda Devine has a YouTube channel now, and she does interview every week, only one. And she's a really good interviewer. Anyway, turns out the stablecoin thing that just passed through the Senate, I assume will pass the House, is because it's going to be like a substitute for the dollar. But in order to be able to have the stablecoin, you would have to buy US treasuries. So it's a way to sell more treasuries to float our debt. I mean, now we're floating our debt with real dollars and then dollars being held to support cryptocurrency. That's like where we're at. Now, Besant, who I trust and is really a super genius, really, it's a way to put dollars out there without putting dollars out there in an inflationary way because you're replacing them with crypto. It's not even crypto, it's like a crypto exchange to back crypto as being legit, where you could trade it in $4 in the end and not worry about not getting dollars out of it. So it makes the US currency, all this scare about BRICS and the US currency no longer being the top currency. If we're the top currency of crypto, and we already know all these scumbags do all their business in crypto, and we can become dominant in that, then the US dollar will dominate cash transactions and crypto transactions, all backed by the dollar. And when you think about that, it's kind of brilliant in a weird way, whereas Biden was saying just to shut down crypto, meaning the US wouldn't be part of it, meaning it wouldn't be dollar backed. So, uh,
No,
money
that's
launderers probably aren't too happy about
that's
it.
an
Oh, hey,
excellent excellent breakdown, Erin.
yes, it's a way
Excellent.
to dominate in the
Because
dollars in
that
the real world and the crypto world.
well, one thing that a lot of people are not cognizant of, we think China is buying our debt. It used to be the Japanese. Yes, they hold a certain a good percentage of debt. The largest debt buyer of U.S. treasuries is the Social Security Administration trust.
Yep.
And because there is so much money coming in from that, they can't just take that out of the economy by parking it. It has to keep moving, or the whole system will fail.
Yep.
But for people, it is scaremongering to tell everybody, oh my God, because when you look at the $27 trillion debt, I wouldn't doubt in the way they've structured it, so people really can't tell that there isn't more than 15 trillion of that is actually value that's owed the trust. So ultimately, it will survive, but they tried to break it. I mean, that's what they did with these illegals. They tried to create a situation
Yes.
that would um, break it beyond repair. Because really, what they want to do is they want to crash the whole system and make it somebody else's fault, so they don't like go to jail for it. And they want to create their digital bank, um, electronic coins. But what I believe Trump is doing, he is setting up a system in the background that is going to be what is going to be based on a basket of valued commodities. And that has always been the real, because if you want to be able to trade a coin, you want to be able to have it tied not to any one thing, like the trust in the Fed, because that's all it is. It's just trust in the Fed right now. But
Because
if you
you're
have,
Gen X, right?
uh, oh yeah, 1970.
We have been completely
Oh,
effed over. Like every
oh
penny that I saved is worth like nothing now. From they've sucked all of it out in inflation and everything else. And these people, like these are
yeah.
like psychopathic people who just hate their children. They hate Gen X. They've hated us since day one, calling us horrible things, making us
Just
watch
mess
apocalyptic
right.
movies and killer crap all through our teen years.
Oh,
They hate us.
just remember the Warner Brother cartoons or Ben and Jerry. That shit was nothing but pure unadulterated violence without any real consequence, because the same characters would be doing the same shit to each other the next week. But it sure put a lot of thing in people's minds where, death or the consequence of death had a lesser, your perception of it was being lesser. The same with video games that they did, where you just respawn, you don't die anymore in the video game. Don't think that wasn't like programming. And the same with stuffing the desks. For the in California, it was always the earthquake, like some flimsy desk that was bought from the lowest um, paid supplier is going to save us when the roof collapses in an earthquake in the big one in California. But they sure would love to stuff us underneath there.
Well, the difference
Um,
here is that, assuming or let's say post war, that the boomers got, especially the younger boomers, got a bad deal too with Vietnam and that. And I say that's true. And they decided to like check out, as they said. But I'm telling you
I,
right
my,
now, Gen X, we're not checking out, man. I'm telling you right now, it's gonna if they rip off all steal everything and make us go homeless or whatever, we were brought up on Mad
we're going to
Max.
take it.
We were brought
We're
up
going
on it and
to
all
take it
that. And we're
back.
gonna take you effers down with us. That's not happening. We're not checking out. That's what they don't understand. Gen X
I
is not going down. We've been pieces of crap
You're
our
right.
whole freaking lives. You've stolen everything from us, and we're not going down. That's why I fight.
Yeah, I totally get that. I mean, I'm right in the middle of it myself. And the one thing about Gen X is that ultimately we are self-reliant and self-serving to an extent that none of the other generations can really understand. I mean, that's why we're like the
Absolutely.
odd the odd
Latch
generation out.
the latchkey kids. We know how to fight.
Yeah. So what were you going to cover today, Deb? I just wanted to jump in and allay people's concerns as far as this thing with it's always been a boogeyman that they use to pass short-term solutions, thinking that's going to fix the big long-term one, messing with Social Security. But the reality is that trust, as long as there isn't somebody that gets away with utterly looting it or dissolving it, like they tried, um, we shouldn't have to worry about it, because ultimately that debt is secured before anybody else's. You don't think the Social Security Trust
No,
isn't
I
going to
know
get its
that.
money before some
But
other country.
they think we're
So
broken and we're just gonna lay back and be like, oh, okay, I'll live in a cardboard box. Because they've been sending us into the box our whole lives. And I'm saying, not gonna happen. We've worked too hard and we've been put through crap.
yeah,
It's not gonna happen. And so Gen X starts retiring in 7 or 8 years, I think. And all hell's gonna break loose if, and I'm not worried about it because I know that we're fixing it. But if they didn't fix it and they thought we were gonna go live in our container apartments, the stack and have us like eat
yeah,
some kind
the
of
pods.
MRE in our little box or whatever, that would have never happened. Not with Gen X. Never. No way. We'd be out in the woods waiting to ambush these people.
I'd rather eat Dr. Skinner's
Right.
first.
It's just not going to happen. You can't store us in like the little shipping container apartments and stack us up. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. The day I have to eat flaxseed on a regular basis is the day I go postal.
Right?
Just ain't
It's
gonna
not
happen, folks.
happening.
I mean, I already lived that life as a kid, so it's just like I ain't ever going back. Rice cakes and
Exactly.
shit like that. So, so what you got, Deb, for us today? What you were thinking? I'm
I
not
was
sure if
thinking
I'll I'll,
about doing
I'll hang
call
out
in,
with
see
you.
if anybody want to call in, but I do have a few things about. Oh, I
Well,
just
they
got a few
should.
things. I did put a link. If anybody listened to, last weekend, Bill Federer was at Godspeak Church, and I put a video. I showed a video of him talking to Godspeak on Thursday morning, and he gives the whole. I mean, I found it because it was a nice history lesson. He explained how Islam and what's happening, and how the Wasabi Islamic, the Muslim Brotherhood, they work. They come into an area. They come in as a religious people, and then they get into the government, and then he said it's just like what the mob does. They go into a territory, they take control of the police, they take control of the government, and before you know it, people are,
Right.
and that's what's happening. And you do that on a country and country basis. And then it was just a really fascinating history lesson. I like listening to him. He's been with Pam a couple of times, and it's just that's one reason why it's like I can't,
Um.
the whole Israel and Iran thing. It, it's it's just another way of getting people all afraid, and it's so anyway. So I put that link so
Well,
people can watch it.
I mean, I was listening to your last show while I was doing busy work, and yes, the Wahhabi, because it's not wasabi.
Oh,
I
is it
just got to let
Wahhabi?
you know it's Wahhabi, the Wahhabis. The entire region is all tribal. Now, it was Britain after the war that drew up all those artificial borders. The tribes never have had any respect for that, and they will go over one border or another because that's where half their tribe got divided with. And just like the Baathists, the Baath Party took over Iraq, they had top-down control, and it just it's across the entire Middle East, and it has been going on for thousands of years. for anybody else to like get in there, other than wiping them all entirely out and starting over, it's just going to continue until those tribal those tribal allegiances or feuds are settled. And when does that ever happen? It hasn't happened yet. So, but yeah, but each and every one of those tribes almost has a mandate to go out and proliferate no matter where. So they're going to be moving that into Europe is next. They're going to divide that all up among the tribes because they imported people from a vast swath of the Middle East and North Africa with multiple tribes. So eventually it's going to be tribal warfare within the European states, which they pretty much figured that out a long time before when they made it, all sovereigns under the Pope as the
and
quote
they've actually already
moderator.
started doing that,
So-
Bigly. They've already started doing that in UK. You got the mayor of London.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, it's not just the mayor of London. I mean, they've taken over councils all over the entire country. And it's just, for whatever reason, the political parties there have broken the Anglo-Saxon people, or even the Normans, whichever you want to go, the English. They have broken them down to the point of zero participation. And every time they try and participate, you get these nut jobs that are like, throwing me in religion.
Is that what it is? Get back to
Yeah,
that.
you're not allowed to be a.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, they are. You're not allowed to be praying some Christians'
Go ahead.
thoughts outside of any venue of a different faith. I know what you're talking about. I saw that shit. That lady got off, and all they were doing was praying out. They weren't even inside. They weren't even causing a scene. But for whatever reason, the government cop and saying they're just like willing. They're so afraid of something, and they need to get their shit together.
Right. Well, they just
eventually stood up to the Vikings. They stood up to the French.
Right. Well, and they just passed a bill in UK allowing for abortion to, let's see if I can find it. Let's see, where is it? Hold on. Let's see. Hold on, it's here. Okay. There's two things on that front, actually. Let me see. Hold on. It's here. Where'd it go? I have to go through my notes. Okay. Yes. UK approves abortion legalization up to the moment of birth. And that came out on the 17th, I think. And then on top of that, UK is also ordering DNA testing from the date of birth. Yeah, every baby in the UK will undergo DNA testing while with whole genome sequencing under the new NHS plan. So what are they looking for?
Oh, no. Oh, it's not what they're looking for. They're basically cataloging each and every person as, well, yeah, they could be looking for dominant traits that they would like to take advantage of in one way or another. But that's basically just genetic identity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I mean.
That they can clock you from them. They know exactly who you are. There's no what are they so afraid of? They feel they have to do that citizenry.
I think it goes. I
Well, then,
personally,
I mean,
Boogerface has been trained to mess with the, because he hates God's creation, and he wants to disrupt. He
well,
he is here. He is here to steal, kill, and destroy, and he will do anything he can to do that. So, but that's me. That's how I.
I mean, oh, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Deb. What I believe they're doing, and I don't want to throw the face of anybody, but I'm reasonably sure, given the shit we went through with COVID, with the testing, where they had to go deep up your nose and get actual good, unadulterated DNA samples from everybody, and then it all gets thrown into these. Nobody knows where it went. I think they're looking for the line of Magdalene. Um, if you if there is a line of descendants from these Magdalene. It's a distinct,
I think it
and
goes.
it's and they're quite spread out. Like they're looking to do in any way that they can to completely eliminate it here on this earth.
Well, I think it goes.
I know it's harsh to say.
I think it goes deeper than that. I think it goes back to
Go
the
ahead. I'm
original.
sorry.
It goes back to the original 12 tribes of Israel. Um,
Yes.
so,
Well,
because
just look at certain things that they've been doing for a very long time. Are you aware of the Basque people? This small, very geographically contained people who have lived in the mountains between Spain and France for thousand years now. I don't. Dan Brown is like he was, using all the hit keywords to get everybody's interest, and everybody's yelled at him for that shit. This is like I was told this stuff a long time before Dan Brown or his books or his movies came out and it became popularized. So that is not my basis of even bringing up that point. I'm just referencing what they did in COVID. They were looking for something, looking real hard for something, and I'm pretty sure that might be one of the things they're looking for. But the Basque are this very isolated bloodline. You look at what they did with the Icelanders as part of paying off their global debt. They sold the Icelanders' genetic database, like sold it. you know, it just
wait, I mean, well, if you go back
these
and
people are playing games.
go ahead.
Oh no, no, no.
No, I was just going to make the statement. I mean, for those who believe in the Bible prophecies about the Israelites, and it's like I try to make the distinction between what people call Israelis now and the Israelites, and the Israelites being called back to their homeland is, I think that's the reason why you got the going after the blood. I mean, and if you think you can go deeper, Jesus being the sacrificial blood that will restore, reconcile us to our Creator, who is Jehovah God. And I think it all goes back to that. That's one reason why I think we're told that it's biblical, is because I try to put things in my spiritual eyes. I call it my spiritual eyes, and when you look at it that way, it throws a whole different narrative, if you will, on what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I guess what you got to look at it is there's always factions that have their own agendas, and oftentimes all we're seeing is the minor clashes, and that goes all the way back to the Bible. Is nothing. It is full of factions that want to write their history above others, and it continues to this day. You just got to be able to have the discernment to work through that. Oh, well, that's these people's agendas. That's their people's agenda. They're going to argue it out for a while, and you really don't need to be concerned with it unless you're part of those factions. So I'm sorry to simplify it that way, but it really is this tribal thing that has happened. Like you said, the 12 tribes. It's been going on forever, and I don't really want the sterile world it would be without that. Right? I
Right.
mean, that seemed like, boy, you wipe all that out. What is humanity left with? What do we fight for? We wind up being exactly like what Aaron was just talking about. Pod people. Just drones to do the things that they can't figure out how the machines to do.
Right.
So,
I wish it was.
what is it? It's almost 2.
It's funny how it's funny how this gets led. You know, it's funny how topics get led. I think. Yeah, because like I said, because it is such a hot topic for people. It's a very emotional topic, and it's just funny, but there's just so much going on.
Oh,
Go ahead.
well, I was going to say, just because I've been a student watching this from an outside perspective for a long time, what we're seeing right now with this conflict with Iran and Israel in the Middle East, on one level, everybody would think of it and it's maybe motivated or emotional about it because of religious lines or religious, how do you say it? Like, but I don't see it like that. I see that this is the same old shit they've been doing for a very, very long time. They go in, they rubblize an area, and then the real money comes in when they rebuild it. They did it. They did it in Southeast Asia. They did in China. You know, the Chinese completely without us rebuilding it. It would never be today. The same they're doing in Ukraine right now. The same they're going to be doing in the Middle East. They're going to rubblize those areas so that they can go in and get paid, just like they did in the Green Zone in Iraq. So it's all about these people that will use others to wreck shit so they can get paid. Because who else is going to pay them in the world to do stuff like that? Really? People that have the capabilities to go build all new cities and infrastructure, they have few and far between jobs unless somebody goes in and bombs the shit out of everything. Then they get hired to go rebuild it. So you see, does that help give you a little bit of like understanding of what's really going on over there, Deb?
Okay.
That it's really that those people play in a whole different level.
Yeah. Let's see. Marsha K dropped something. Let me see if I still. Yeah. President Trump just dropped something. We have completed a very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan, Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. All full payloaded bombs with capital B was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention in this matter. So.
Shout out to the crews that just flew from Whiteman Air Force Base in the heartland of America. I believe that's in Missouri. Yeah, they just flew all the way around the globe, dropped those bombs because once they load those bombs, those big 30,000 pounders, which two can carry two of them, they can't land with that weight inside them. They can lift off and they can get continuously refueled all the way to, like the last report I had heard was that they were refueling off of Guam. And yeah, because we got to go the long way around. We got to go, instead of up and over the pole, which make for a very fast trip, we of course can't cross over Russia to go bomb Iran. So, oh, sorry, South Dakota. That might be interesting. Thank you, Cockpit Monkey, because South Dakota and North Dakota had the craziest weather. Like people were all the way showing these, like what they thought was like something worth taking films of. And what if that was some sort of way to obscure the fleet leaving at a certain time? Because the only way that people figured out that the B-2s had been deployed was they deciphered the radio track of the tankers and the tower traffic off of Guam. Because of the B-2s, those things, they work on all different communication systems. So, yeah, those people went a long way. And now they got to fly back. So.
Well, it's interesting, and this is kind of a little bit circling around, but one of the things I heard this week was that these nuclear facilities or nuclear weapons or the materials were in these underground bunkers. And what had happened in Iran this week? They had a 5.2 earthquake. When I heard about the bunkers, I'm thinking, huh, I wonder if that has anything to do with anything. That's what better way to destroy something but have an earthquake underground, instead of fighting fighting above ground so that you don't have to worry about nuclear fallout.
I mean, you're right on the money, because remember what happened with the inland in North Korea? It suddenly collapses with a 5.1, 5.2 earthquake. And that was it. That was done. So we don't know if we drop. We know that B-2s went over, but they're not going to talk about it. They don't want to lose face that that we have the capability to go in and drop ordnance and be gone without them defending, even knowing they were there until it's too late. So whatever. I mean, the people were told, you can't do this. But I'm really concerned, and this is righteous concern, is that we know that a plane took off, a plane that's capable of carrying heavy, took off before or during the initial missile attack on Tehran, and everybody would think, oh well, that they've taken body, they're moving VIPs. Oh, okay, Cockpit Monkey. Missouri. What if they moved what they had finished just to get it out from the hands of who they thought might know where it was in the moment before it gets wrecked?
Yeah.
So that one is what concerns me, is they bugged out with what they had finished before they had an opportunity of containment. So
I'm watching.
I mean, until we deal with the until they deal the IRGC, what it is, the reigning guard. Now, that would be kind of controversial, in that I have a sneaky suspicion that somebody wants his $1 trillion airbase back. So don't be surprised when that shit goes down. I don't think he will ever let that go. It's an opportunity to change. I'm not going to be specifics, but you guys should know what I'm talking about. You don't have to say it either, Deb, but I think you know what I'm talking about.
When it comes to
something pissed at.
And when I think of world politics news, I am totally ignorant, and it's just the way. That's just why I listen to other people. You know, this is part of my, I guess you could say, problem. I'll hear something and I'll digest it. And I said, you know what, that's a good point, but trying to explain it to somebody else, that's because I don't know enough to actually talk about it. So that's another reason why I don't talk about a lot of this stuff either. So,
well, I mean, you don't want all that stuff in your head, Deb. Trust me, I've been living it since I was 13 years old. I've been just mass collecting all this. Most times it's completely separate and irrelevant shit, but you collect enough of it and you start connecting the dots and you see the bigger pictures. But I recommend that to everybody. It is not a healthy place for your mind to be, always stuck in all this stuff that's really doesn't affect your day-to-day happiness or purpose in life, does it? I know. So personally, I don't recommend it. I don't have a choice. My brain literally will not turn off unless I completely saturate myself with drugs and all like I did for years in the past. Like, I'm sober now, so I can't turn it off. But
yeah. Well, why would you want to go down that path?
Yeah, and don't do that either.
Why would you want to go down that path? So,
well, when you come from a family where just about everybody has basically lost their shit at one point or another because their brains are like way too far up on the scale. I mean, it's a real thing. You just I don't know. I can't change what I was born with. Neither can my cousins, my brother, or my mother, or it's the way the family is. So there are people.
I thought my
they
family.
Resort and.
I'm sorry. I thought my family was halfway normal.
No, go ahead.
And then I find out that they put the dis in dysfunctional. So go figure.
It sounds like a normal family.
So yeah,
I mean, what would a family be without some sort of character to it?
Yeah. Well, did you see that kind of get off the topic? Did you see that they in San Diego and Terra found a trafficking tunnel that they've
I did, and it's always bugging me about why they do go through so much effort. Why it's not discovered, because there should be sensors along the entire border that picks up. Deb, I've lived on the U.S. Mexico border in multiple locations, from down there, from across from Tijuana to Yuma, Arizona, to like New Mexico, right on the border. Never in Texas, so I know nothing of that zone. But it just seems to me that all they need to do is one of those horizontal drilling machines, go down about 100 feet, and they could just make a narrow pipe where they could just, like the banks used to do with vacuum. You put your money or your check in the little tube. Yeah.
I mean, look at this tunnel right here. You've got what looks like a pipe, like a water pipe, or you got a water system or something, maybe steam. No, and then look, you got the rail.
No, compressed air. Compressed air.
Okay. You got the railing,
Yeah.
and so they're saying that they it's over 1,000 feet. It was they found it in a commercial warehouse in Otay Mesa. There was a it's
Oh,
it
well, no
goes
wonder.
it goes from a Tijuana residence, so you got a residence to a commercial warehouse, and it's which is over 1,000 feet inside the U.S. territory. So it's the ventilation. I mean, how long did it take them to? I mean, I think of miners when I look at this kind of tunnel. Look at that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they have the benefit in that zone of the geology being what's called, well, layman's term, it's called caliche,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
I
it
know
is an
caliche.
ancient material. Okay, then you know what I'm talking about
It's
here,
very
and
loose.
I'll explain it for others.
It's very loose gravel.
Well, it's it's loose gravel when you loosen it, but otherwise it's almost like cement. It is a great, it would be a great material for, because you notice they don't have any arching support in that tunnel. It's all been dug, and they're not worried about cave-ins, and that's just the ground there. Plenty of other mining operations, they got to do everything with square set supports to keep it all from caving in, but not in the dirt they have down there. So it's conducive for deals like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to be, I mean, the only reason to go that big with a rail system like that is to go be moving heavy stuff. It could be guns, ammunition, uh, all kinds. The shit's endless. They need to, one of the things they have to do now is they need to move money from A to B. So money can be very heavy and bulky, and they wouldn't want to get caught taking it back across the border. So they could be using tunnels to literally be moving the paper back across the border.
How about
It's
tangible
got
assets?
it works both ways.
How about tangible assets like gold or silver?
Oh, sure. I mean, anything like that they could be. You know, yeah. There's a lot of different things, but don't think that was just. I mean, they were using our own tunnels for a long time with the emergency storm drain tunnels that cross over the border. They'd go in there and they'd cut the chains, and they would just like, oh, here we go. But huh. I'm. Why don't you roll with what other content you have, Deb, and I'll look. I'll see if I can't find with my sources um,
What
better
did
information on the
you saw?
right.
The, I mean, I was like,
We know who it is.
yeah, I know.
It's the people who are going to be lose their ass with this new economic structure of trade with China. They made all their money on it, and watch. We're going to know who the people are that are like, bet the farm on that system being that way for their business model. And Trump is wrecking it, and no wonder they're pissed. And they're going to use all their resources they can to put the system back into the favor that they built their business on. So don't think that, I mean, don't think any of this is like some political. This is all about money. And
you see their new army
so
now.
follow
right?
the money.
Sorry, I keep walking over you. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we seen their new army. The senior citizens who are so afraid of losing Medicare and Medicaid, and they all they hear is Trump fascist. Trump said, "Oh, that's one of the things I want to go through too." But anyway,
Well, I'm using Deb. You see what's happening to these people? They're being terrorized.
oh yeah,
They're being terrorized by their own to maintain power. It's absolutely insidious. Poor people are like shaking and afraid and like, oh my God, he's gonna do this or this like this thing. I don't know if you ever saw the Handmaiden's Tale. I had a friend of mine, this girl that lives in well, a lady that lives in Amsterdam, who's an American. She was asking who to vote for, and I said, you got to vote Trump. He's the only way we're going to killing their claim that he's a dictator.
Yeah.
And the same eco terrorists. Oh, the world's going to end. All this, so we're going to just go out and set fires. I mean,
Well, you know, it comes down
yeah.
to I think.
But
Well, I think a lot of it comes. People are just afraid of death. It's like you don't have to be afraid of death. That's the problem. You really don't. You don't have to be afraid of it, but people are afraid of dying. I'm not saying go be reckless and do dangerous things that that's on the borderline of wanting to take your own life, but you don't have to be afraid.
no, you've got to be, and I'm speaking from pure experience. You got to be like chosen by up on high to be one of those people that just continuously gets away with it. Where most, 98% of other people should be dead for what you got away with. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, maybe once or twice in life you come really close. I mean, there's not there are lots of them. We all know who they are, or we've seen them time and time again. Might know some of them, but there are people who live like the earnest, I mean, cleanest lives with all the faith in the world, and they get taken out with nothing. And then you have people who do, frankly, dumb shit forever, and they just walk out scot free. And it's not because they tried to save themselves. Something else saved them. That is my entire
Mm-hmm.
belief in power. Because I've lived in times. I've lost count of how many times I should be dead. But
Uh,
to live with that fear all the time is just, it affects a very important component of your physiologic. Um, it's called the amygdala. And it is deep down in your hippocampus in the back of your brain. It's your primal center. And if that is always under stress, which is what they're doing, right? They're always inducing stress and fear. And if we finally get through one thing, a new narrative going, it it eventually it overloads it, and it just doesn't. It has to be compliant, or it will lose its loses its, yeah, the lizard brain function reactions. Thank you, Dana 54. Don't think that this is being done on purpose, because if you manage to overload that, you then become complacent and you give up on things, and you're willing to, like, there's no point of fighting on. I'm in a long way around. I'm exactly back to what you were saying, Deb, about you know fear of dying. There are people that will do anything they can to not die, and then people who will think they're doing everything really dying themselves.
mm-hmm.
And if you look at the way that they are treating our minds on a global basis, that shit is, it really is insidious. But unfortunately, like I said before, it's multiple factors. You don't have people working so many different factions that all have their own agenda, that we're never going to be able to sort this out. Not even a one-word girl government would sort that out.
Yeah. Well, you talk about that, and to
Oh,
kind
um,
if I don't say this, I'll forget. Uh, you could go and to kind of go one step
oh,
further. You
please.
think about the adrenaline, and the adrenaline. You know, if they can keep that
Mm-hmm.
adrenaline, that will because way back when we weren't as populated as we are now, you know the instinct under fear or anger is to fight or flight, and now you've got that adrenaline. You got the
Correct.
fear factor to keep that adrenaline going, and that adrenaline is a poison to the body.
Oh, absolutely. And the same with cortisol. Why do I mean, uh, you probably get out enough to see people. The whole country is in shape, whether you're eating happier or not, and some of that has to be down to the continual stress levels and overproduction of cortisol. And I mean, it's just they're working on us on so many levels to maintain control that you know, we're just being we're I mean, we're literally under chemical assault
Mm-hmm.
from all different angles. Unless you really try and isolate yourself, which I mean, personally, I have done that most of my entire life. I mean, lived out in the middle of nowhere, well water, spring water. The sickest I've ever been in life is I lived on municipal water. And it's charitable. Every time I had to move into a place where I had to drink city water, my health would go to shit. So I'm not saying that. I mean, the fluoride, chloramines, all kinds of stuff that they have to do. Um, you can't say I'm not being like down on anybody who's got to live that way. I just tell you, there's a different life out there if you can achieve it, folks.
Yeah.
So
And if they can get
I'm
you
gonna.
through. Yes, Ruby's Lord, I did. We didn't spend a lot of time on it because I just the whole thing with the Iran thing. I, I just feel it's just another one of those as a way to keep people worried and distracted, and I just don't want. I don't the whole Iran Iraq. I mean, I wasn't worried. Uh, President Trump is not a president for war. He's going to do everything he can. So yes, we did about 5 minutes on the fact that yes, they dropped the they dropped a payload of bombs on the three facilities in Iran, and they're already flying back home. They're already out of airspace and they're coming home. So, and I just I don't know. There's so many other things going around. You got these easily led people that don't know why they're 2 king, no king 2.0. It's like, and they're so blind they can't even see how ridiculous that whole that whole narrative is. They can't see that the. I mean, who comes up with this Taco Man? Did you see that?
Yes, yes.
Oh, with was in LA today, and he gave this presser, and he had this reporter asking him a question. I don't even remember what the question was, but he called Alex Padilla Jose Padilla, and Karen Bass comes in as
Well,
how dare he get his name? It's like, well, they call him President Orange Man Bad or Taco Man. It's like, are you kidding me? Y'all was called President Trump worse. I thought that was so funny.
well. See, the thing is, Padilla used to be, if I remember correctly, he was the Secretary of State. He is the one that signed all the Dominion system for these, like specifically for the special LA thing and ballot on demand ballots. And funny how he gets picked to be the senator for California replacing Kamala. There's a reason why Padilla is being highlighted. I think he knows he's up under some sort of investigation, along with these. Look at these Dems that are doing these crazy shit. Where any rational person knows you're not going to make any sense by charging a door of something. You don't have that ability anyway. You're an oversight body that asks questions from a chair. You don't, unless it's set up for that, you're invited in. But what if he's creating this controversy to say, oh, well, they're just persecuting me, when in reality he knows that they're after his ass for something that's much, much worse. But of the followers, they think, oh, he's strong, he's strong and brave. He's fighting the man. Now, I am seeing all of these Dems do stupid shit that you wouldn't ever think they would do or ever risk doing, just for the narrative. Oh, well, we're fighting the man. We're boots on the ground. But I think that's because they want to be able to say that that, oh, when they're being prosecuted for shit they really did, they're just going to say, oh, well, they're persecuting us because of what we did, what we showed you we did. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? I need a little reality check.
Yeah, well, I mean, and then when they sit there, they're on camera, and they start crying. Sorry, man up. Give me a man who can say what he means and means what he says without breaking down. I remember when Clinton got out there on stage and cried because people were going after Hillary. I'm just like, okay, she better get a thick skin if she's going to be in politics. And that woman is, we know her background. That woman doesn't need your defense. I mean, oh my gosh, it's just.
Yeah, what a perfect way to put it, Deb. Because that's really what it is. Your brain just goes, can't take it anymore. I just want to have a drink. Turn up.
Pass the beer,
do
right?
something else.
It's a good thing I don't drink, I just.
Well, yeah. Well, no, instead they keep overwhelming and more emotional, and they've created such an emotional situation with these people that they're emotionally invested in it. And the Hegelian dialect, I talk about it all the time. I'm not sure if you hear me or this particular group of people listening on Saturdays, but part of the Hegelian dialectic is that you create a situation of stress and fear and punishment to the point where the person's psyche, all they will consider is doing what they can to make it stop, not who it is. And it becomes the savior syndrome, where unbeknownst to you, you've been being punished on a scale, but the people that have actually been punishing you then offer the solution, and just to escape the punishment, your mind completely and wholeheartedly accepts the savior as being the one, and then you give them adulation when they finally, who's been doing it in the background, stop the punishment, therefore reinforcing the fact that the person saved you from all this trauma that you were living. It works in cults, and it works on mass scale, like what they did with the mass formation psychosis of COVID. That was all a punishment thing. And the endearment that the vax was going to save everybody, and especially with Biden taking over the government, the Dems taking over the government. The only problem was that they had the shit they were selling was fucking garbage. Because, man, if that shit actually worked as it was sold, we would be in a world of hurt, because the masses would have accepted their savior, brought them out of the lockdowns, and medicine would again have that whole, near God perception in people's minds that indeed pharma can save us from anything. That's really what they were. I'm not alone in this. I've talked with other really smart people that were in the system, and we hashed it out over a good night, and we all came to, that's pretty much what happened. They were trying to reestablish what they had with the medical industrial complex of many, the early years, where it was like, where it was something that everybody was in on. And but ever since they've been losing, losing credibility, losing trust. But the problem is that they got conned because this shit didn't work. I
Well,
know a bunch. I mean, who? Sorry to keep rambling, but who here knows somebody who took all the boosters but then got COVID every time, but still
well,
believes in it?
well, I don't know
You
how many
know?
boosters my sister and brother-in-law got, but I know they got at least one, and I do know that my daughter got the, but she got it when it first came out because she's military, and because she and I talked about it, and she said, and this is what she told me. She was told. So January of 2021, when the booster shots first came out before Biden got into office, she and I talked about it, and she's like, "I'm not going to take it." And then she came back to me, "Mom, I'm going to take it. I want to let you know." And she said because it's going to become mandatory, and she said I want to be in control when I take it. I'm hoping that she either got the placebo or she got the President Trump shot, which would have been the
Yeah.
hydroxychloroquine or whatever. Still got sick, but she got sick a few months later.
Well,
But
she got a placebo.
my I know my brother-in-law, my sister got the shot, and of course he worked for DOD, yeah, DOD,
Hmm.
and as a contractor, and of course we know what happened with him this last November, or and I told Chris, whenever I think, well, now that the whole they're coming back to the 2020 election, things are coming out of Congress is asked for paperwork or the documents from Colorado. Well, look who's in Colorado, Tina Peters. But I keep thinking about my brother-in-law being told that he was the lead investigator into the election fraud, and now all of this is like, man, I wonder how much of his footprints are on this documentation. I wonder if his death is what it really, what we were really told, and how much had to do with the
Well,
booster, or how much, and was there something else, or was it really, quote unquote natural causes, because he was only 57 years old. How much of it
mhm.
had to do with how much had to do with the shot. So every time I think about this stuff, I think about my brother-in-law, and so
Well, you're not wrong. I do remember that, Deb. I think I remember I might have even spoke up and counseled you that your sister needs to take great care because they would, of course, be concerned about any sort of thing that they left behind, that he left, that it wasn't within their immediate control. I mean, you look at what happened with this shooter
yeah.
in Minnesota. Somebody went, the wife disappears and then somebody goes back into the house. They,
Yeah, there's something
there are dark
hinky.
forces out there.
There's something hinky that, well, in this I'm pretty sure, I'm 95, 98% sure that my brother-in-law had nothing work related at his house, except for maybe the civilian medals he had received. That may be the only thing, because I, I don't perceive my brother-in-law doing that. I mean, he was a good soldier
Well,
back in the 90s, and he never even carried a weapon. He never kept a weapon at home. So
I know. I think you're absolutely right, Deb. I don't think you have to be concerned about that. I grew up in a family of people that were like everybody in the family was kind of at that level that you talked about, and they don't bring the work home. They they just there's this disciplined rule, um, and that way your family is less likely to be targeted. Um, so it sounds to me like that he was all in on protocol and it wouldn't be an issue. Um,
yeah, I'm pretty sure that is
now that
true.
you provide me that information. And D Finchie, don't be real careful with hash brownies. Eat too many of those things and you can wind up being like traumatized. I
Yeah.
know from experience.
Yeah, everybody, we've talked about it for about 5 minutes. Yes, we now we haven't talked about President Trump speaking in an hour and a half, but yes, we already know about the bomb, President Trump, and this is one reason why I wasn't so afraid. I mean, there's several people I was listening to, but President Trump has often said he hasn't changed his stance in um, 30 years. If y'all were
Yeah.
listening earlier with Arian, she talked about how President Trump would call in during the whole, was it Iraq war, after 9/11 and say we shouldn't be over there. He said that all, for years. So, this whole thing, it's like if he didn't get us into World War III in his first term, y'all really think he's going to get us into World War III now? So I wasn't worried about it. He's got a plan. I mean, he does. He makes strikes that are precise strikes, and just like I know people are going to get their feelings hurt, just like with Israel. Israel gives them warnings before they strike. President Trump gives them warnings. Says that's the reason why he said get out of Tehran,
Yeah.
and people forget. By the
Yeah.
way, people are forgetting that the embassy was moved out of Tehran and is in Jerusalem now. So,
Well,
I keep
yeah,
seeing.
and
Go ahead.
people are people are then gonna, they're gonna complain. Well, you said you had 2 weeks. No, he said I'm gonna think about it up to the next 2 weeks. And apparently, I I don't have specific information, but I do know how things work. Especially with geology. Whenever you want to get into hard ground, sometimes the best thing to do is rattle it so that it temporarily loses its bonds. Eventually, it settles again. But what if that whole thing was what we saw, the 5.2? What if
Mm-hmm.
that was just to loosen the ground before they send in something that will move through the ground easier now that it's just had a moment of being um, dissettled,
Yes.
like or just everything about that um, spoke speaks of either they hit it already at the 5.2, and then we're just now talking about that they hit it, or they hit it twice, or they used some other thing that, I mean, Trump said it. Hey, look, we got shit nobody else knows about. You've never seen it before. I'm just warning you to do the deal. And they they FO'd. So whatever.
Yeah.
Cannot hold the world hostage.
Yeah. I mean, it's what is the president? You don't tell your enemies what you're going to do. Not like Obama did. I
Yeah.
mean, allowing the media being embedded so the media could give out positions. Are you kidding me? Yeah, and Mo, you're probably right. It probably
Yeah.
was Tel Aviv, but I read other things, and I think someone said Tehran. So you're probably right. It was probably Tel Aviv.
Well, Tel Aviv would have been, I mean, it's the capital of Israel. And Trump did have the American embassy moved out at a considerable cost saving to Jerusalem. But Tehran is the capital of Iran. So it's two separate places. We wouldn't move and we haven't had an embassy in Iran since the takeover. So,
Right. So anyway, oh, is that right?
well,
Shabbat ended. Oh, interesting. Or
oh,
that's interesting. The timing. It's going to be biblical, everybody.
oh, so they did it during some religious observance.
Sounds like they did it right after, maybe.
Okay. Oh,
So, Shabbat, but Shabbat Shalom. So, because that's the other thing is the Hebrew calendars. I think some you got the booger face calendar, the Hebrew calendar that drives some of this too. If you look at it that way,
Mm.
and yeah, Sabbath ends at sundown because remember in the Hebrews, uh, sundown, the day begins at sundown, so the new cycle. So that is interesting.
Right, well, I mean, what is today, the 21st?
First,
I mean, right. Well, wasn't it basically the solstice?
yesterday wasn't it?
I
I
mean,
thought the 20th. Was it 20th
yeah,
or 21st? So
out of the world you're on for the calendar, the Roman calendar to keep up with, but most religions around the world base a lot of stuff around the solstice. So that would certainly jive that there might be something more to it.
yeah, that is a good. I mean, good point, Mo. I was like, I haven't. I mean, we haven't heard about Diddy. We haven't heard about Mike Lindell. I mean, because all of this is taking place. Mike Lindell is lost his. I think lost his case, but yet he's filing for an appeal or something. Because I mean, once the whole, like I said a while ago, Congress is requesting the documents from Colorado from the 2020 election. Well, guess what? If they find the smoking gun, so to speak, Mike Lindell is off the hook. Tina Peters is off the hook. I hope Tina Peters sues Colorado and whoever the Secretary of State for all that garbage. She shouldn't be in jail.
So, uh, I think, I mean, I'm not putting words in her mouth or anything, but what I see is going on there is that, well, Tina Peters' case is also in an appeal situation because they did her really dirty. And if Trump were to just pardon her, that would take away exposing that they really did her dirty. And frankly, she was a warrior enough to do her part because she had access to it to help save our republic. And if it takes sitting in jail, I mean, as shitty as it is at her age, um, there are plenty of people that would do the same by laying down their life. So, but the thing with her has to play out because these people are a full court press to try and give the media any possible talking point as to being nothing. There was no credible evidence on all levels. If you go to Grok and say, ask it if there was 2020 interference, its immediate response is there is no credible evidence presented. It just, which flies in the face of it. Sorry to ramble, but, normally when you have a historic win, an overwhelming win, you would want to put it in their face. But
Right.
instead, what do? They put 1,000 lawyers on the street and fought every case. And they'd also set up the courts beforehand and gave them, all these court people had lectures about how there was going to be this undue influence. And, they biased their minds before the 2020 so that it could be turned back.
Right. Well, and think of all the other. Well, my whole thing is I wish we could just get rid of the media because a lot of this, probably about 98% of this stuff would go away if the media were actual journalists and spoke truth. And if we could get rid of the idea.
Get back to. You're absolutely right.
And if we could get back to the idea of stop this court of public opinion, because that's all it is. Media puts something out to sway your emotions, and then that's what you go with.
Right, to trying you in the court of public opinion. I mean, instead of going back to what the news used to be, or journalism, it was all based about who, what, when, where, why, and how. It was like they called it the 5 W's, even though there's an H in there. That was what news used to be. Now it is political operatives that are put in the position to influence you. I mean, that's the beauty of where we are and what we're doing here, Deb. I mean, is that we don't have advertisers. I know I mean, it's not, some people need money and stuff, but it's like the undue influence or agendas that advertising brings along with it shapes the entire narratives that they're willing to produce. And until they got to come out and say it up front, oh yeah, I've never voted anything but this particular party, and let's be honest here, for credibility's sake, I wouldn't have my job unless I was saying exactly what they want me to say. If they had to preface every news report they had with that, so they exposed the slant, I mean, how would that go?
Well,
Should it get real quick, right?
I mean, look at your op-eds in the newspaper. The views of this newspaper does not or the views of this writer does not necessarily express the views of this paper, but however, because of free speech, we're going to put it in. You know, that thing.
Right,
Yeah.
but the dirty, great point, Deb, because that one pisses me off all the time because I've wrote a few of those and never seen them put out. The problem is that the editorial board, which is already has their particular slant, picks and chooses whose editorial that they put out. So
Yeah, that's
you
if
know,
you have a.
there is
Well, that's true if it's a. Well, let's see. That's true if the paper is owned by someone like USA Today or Penthouse or whomever.
Gannett.
I mean,
Yeah, well,
because local, if it's a local run newspaper and owned newspaper, most of the time, if the local isn't exactly corrupt, they'll give both sides. Because, you know, in Corpus, when I lived in Corpus, until USA Today bought out the local paper, that you did see both sides, but not once USA bought out, you see the slant.
Right, Gannett Corporation, which ultimately, I mean, I deliver newspapers for a press Democrat. You read papers long enough, and uh, but here's a dirty secret, folks, is that about at least 15 years now, Google, once it really started on a roll and had money to play with, it instituted a program um, where they would have block grants that would go to local newspapers across the nation, where they would provide them from anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000, and it was, quote, to put a reporter. It was to supposedly pay reporter salaries, but you got to know for a fact that the people that got put into those positions as a benefactor by Google, that whenever they get the wink and a nod, they will write what it is the paymaster asks of them. And it created kind of a false news narrative across the nation, because they're still doing it. You know, newspapers have gotten so hard for money that they are wholeheartedly willing to accept that. But, you know, you go back to the Randolph Hearst days, when that was all there was, and then the term yellow journalism was you know, a great pariah, but he didn't give a shit, you know.
You know why it called it yellow journalism, right?
Oh, please tell me.
Because the news or the paper was not worth the money that you put to line the bird cages.
Right, I like that. Yeah, I mean, the man he was one of the first precedences as far as literally ginning up a false flag war. Started with Remember the Maine, the warship that blew up in Havana Harbor because it was full of gunpowder. It kicked off the Spanish-American War.
Yep.
What did we get out of that? We got our emplacement in Cuba. We got the Philippines. I don't know, redrew the southern border. I mean, all kinds of benefits came to that completely engineered false flag narrative, and Hearst was directly responsible,
Mm-hmm.
as a tool of others.
Right. And he wasn't
So,
it he that coined the term muckraker because you just rake the muck.
oh yeah, if it bleeds, it leads. Okay, so I have not yet seen, because I am tracking, looking for the rapid response account from the White House. I will let you know if I see something come up where they make a statement as far as when, I mean, because who knows what we could get out of him tonight. I mean, hopefully it'll be tempered and diffuse the situation and just say, yeah, I told them. They've been told too many times you cannot have this, and you're offered every opportunity to comply. But you know, at some point or another, the adult has to take the toy away from the kids when they're fighting over it.
Right.
So,
Now, I'm just. Uh, so, did you? Okay, let's to kind of get off on another kind of thing. Did you see that about? Oh, did you see the garbage that happened at Dodger Stadium this week? Did you see the news on that?
yeah, yeah, I don't know what that guy's up to. I mean, he's playing to his the Dodgers fans, which are very loyal. Latinos are very loyal to the Dodgers. I mean, they fill the stands there at Dodger Stadium. But um,
Well,
to say
this.
that he's going to give $1 million to families affected by it, I mean,
Well, did you? Yeah, that too. But I was thinking of this whole idea that they were saying that they ran off ice when the real story is there was it was border patrol. It's customs and border patrol. They were having I don't know. They were there. They asked to use the parking lot because the one of their vehicles had was having car issues, and they were there for several hours, and you got these people going out, oh, they're here, they're raiding Dodger Stadium, they're going to pick up everybody. I mean, just like, so you got these cars there, they were saying that they were processing, I don't know, they said that they were processing, but what it was is there was a car malfunction. And so they asked them if they would mind leaving because these radicals were starting to come up and make noise, and they said, sure, fine. They got their car fixed and they left. I mean, they made it such a big deal, and it was just crazy.
well, I mean, that's no different than the situation that kicked all that off in LA, where it was customs enforcement. They'd caught somebody who was importing millions and millions and wasn't paying the customs duties, and they were raiding that place. And then another time, another situation in LA that like got quote out of hand was they were doing a drug raid, but then it turns into all these people are like, there are soldiers on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting boots on the ground to create a situation whenever they think they can get away with it. So
Yeah,
uh,
I mean,
another false narrative.
look at the riots. I mean, I think they're still going on, but you don't hear about those anymore. You know, because they're still present. They're still there was what last I heard, I think it was 5,000. Well, JD Vance said today there was still 5,000 Marines or boots on the ground over there to protect the federal facilities. And here's the thing,
Yeah.
people don't realize that they're there to protect the federal facilities. They really are trying to push President Trump to was it enact was it posse comitatus or whatever, to so that he can declare martial law. So they're trying to get us into World War III. They're trying to get President Trump to suspend the Constitution by declaring martial law, so they can say, look, there he is. There's the bad guy. He's such a bad guy that he's stepping on all your rights. Baloney. He's trying to do everything he can, but he's doing it legally. I mean, people don't even understand what the Constitution really means. It's just so frustrating.
I could put it. You're absolutely right, Deb. You're seeing it just like I was seeing it. Others are seeing it. Um, yeah, he was federal facilities, so they are not even. They can't even show pictures of the Marines on the street being domestic law enforcement. They're inside the buildings or on the grounds, which is where they need to be to protect the facilities. Um, but at the same time, you know, they their entire world exists around speculating about all the horrible, and that's what they do all day long, like on MSNBC. It's all could be, maybe, possibly, perhaps, go as far as allegedly, according to those familiar with his thinking that are anonymous source. I mean, they basically, it's all speculation over it
It's
because
not.
he sees it and he sidesteps it. It doesn't do what they're trying to push him into doing, and that just drives them even more mad
It's
because
comical.
ultimately, at some
Sorry.
point, these people just are going to break and say, "I can't believe these people anymore," because he never does what they say he's going to do.
Yeah, it's almost fun to watch them lose it. I mean, but really, but on the other hand, it's sad to watch the people. And here's the thing: it's like how many people. I mean, if you go to social media, how many people are really believing this BS? Are they paid? Are they paid shills? Do they get paid to generate? Because every time you
Yes.
click on their name, they're going. I mean, there's one person that's like, I just want to. I mean, I've actually had people actually tell me. I mean, they make it as a joke and say, "Ha ha, yeah, you're right. I'm getting paid to do this. Ha ha." Try to make it joke so it sounds like they're not. But I'm like, okay, you just admitted that you're getting paid to stir up trouble, right? How many of them are AI bots that just does it just to? I mean, it's
A lot of them.
crazy.
A
It's
lot
just
of
so
them.
crazy.
You got to really go and dig into their account profile and look at their past stuff, and you can usually see which ones are the bots, which have the narratives, where they have a common narrative, a bunch of different accounts that, and you look down to see who's chiming in and trying to validate the narrative. Those are bots too. It's all a feedback reinforcement loop that they employ. But the problem is you've got that shit going both ways or three ways, or from all cardinal points coming at you all at once. And really, the best option at one point or another is just turn that shit off and listen to us here at PSP. Oh,
Yeah, if you guys are just joining in, there's President Trump where he uh, he just nuked some nukes over in Iran. Three of the facilities were bombed, and now people are all excited. And President Trump's going to be speaking in an hour or so, in a couple of hours. So that's what everybody's
uh,
excited about. And I'm like,
what? I'm sorry to interrupt. What time is it East Coast right now?
right now, let's see, it's almost 9 o'clock East Coast. So
Okay. So I'm seeing a report that Trump is to address the nation at 10 p.m. Eastern from the White House. So that'll probably be into Chris's show, correct?
probably. So
Okay. Well, I imagine he'll cover that.
all right, and speaking of that, we only have about 7 more minutes, but I mean, if Dana was to join in for the last 7 minutes, he's more than welcome. And since he was out in chat earlier, and guys, thank you Thank you for being here. I'm putting up my YouTube. Also, yesterday, if you listened to Pink Panther, I had Pink Panther on the phone yesterday, and because I was filling in for Pam, and he was talking about how right before the riots happened, because he lives over in that area where the rioting started, he actually took coffee to the police officers over in that area,
Oh,
and he
well,
said,
thank
he
you,
said,
fine sir.
he just said that I just felt this voice said, go give him coffee. And after the third time, he said he kind of dwelled on, kind of mulled on it, and then after the third time he says, okay, I'm going to do it. He said that one of the windows, I can't remember if it was the actual police station or one of the restaurants. He says there was really pretty glass window, and it is shattered now. So I mean, these people, they destroy this.
Yeah.
That I mean, how can these people? I mean, I know we know it's all contrived, but how can the people sit there and say that's okay? Like I said, they're paid to spout this nonsense, and you know, it just Hey Dano, I see you're joining the party. How are you? I caught
Aloha,
you off
Deno.
guard.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point to bring up. Well, he comes on air. Great point there. The people that are standing guard, that are actually defending democracy and our way of life. People should go down there and just give them a thanks so they get some positive reinforcement against all these crazies that are in their face, calling them all kinds of shitty names, and questioning their loyalty to the nation. If you have a chance, go down there and support those people by telling them to their face, thank you, in places that are safe.
Well, you think
I don't
about
know.
it, and it just occurred to me. It's almost like you remember the when the soldiers came back from Vietnam and how they were demoralized. For I mean, whether you believed in the war or not, these people went part. Some of them went not voluntarily because their draft number was called. Some of them went voluntarily, but they thought they were doing a good thing. Some of them probably
Yeah,
they were already felt like garbage because of what they saw over there. So you come back, and instead of getting maybe not a high five but a hug, they're getting spit on. They're getting all
yeah.
this
Well,
and all this.
thank
Well, I'm getting ready to say the
no,
word I don't usually say, but they're getting the crap tossed at them, and it's just you know that's what bugs
well,
me. I think most about some of this stuff is now that we know the truth about a lot of it, but yet our soldiers and everything, people who thought they're doing the good thing for patriotism because they're told to be patriots, or they really believe in the American, being an American, America first, and then they're
s-
stomped on.
serving your nation. Well, Deb, thank you for bringing up. And there are people out there that question that entire narrative, that it was all staged like this. No, my father, that changed his entire life. Come from a military, every one of my father's family served. He was regular army before the Vietnam conflict. He came back early in the rotation. LAX called his buddies, "Hey, come pick me up." And they wouldn't do it
Mm.
because they'd seen all this shit. And when he got off the 727, which was a civilian, chartered flight, there were people that were spitting on the men in uniform. And he went to the bathroom and he changed out, left his duffel there, walked through it so he didn't have to deal with that, and then had to call his parents to come drive 60 miles across the LA basin to LAX and come pick him up. It was just like, what am I even, what is this that I've come back to?
Yeah.
And it changed it. I shit you not. He became, and this is what the family has told me, his brothers and sisters, that when he came back, he was so anti, like it just kind of broke him. I mean, that and being a heroin junkie, that kind of messes you up a little bit. Um, from his service. I mean, he basically got hooked while he was over there. But when he came back, he was very, very anti and just in utter disbelief. He kind of lived that way the rest of his life. It took me years to get him through the VA to get the proper medical attention that he had, deserved and served and deserved, because he just did not trust anything.
Yeah.
So what you were talking about is absolutely real, and that shit can never happen again in this country.
Well, it
That was.
It shouldn't. People put their lives on the line and they think they're doing good, and they think that whether you agree with it or not, they're doing it because they think it's the right thing to do. And with that being said, at 6:00, hey Dano.
Hey Deb. Hey Big Lee. How you guys doing?
Hey Dano.
Lots of
So I was getting
emotion.
all plugged in there. I heard you speaking, but I couldn't respond there. I was getting all set up, so
Okay, well,
getting ready to go.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and back out, and you have a great show, because if I start
Aloha, Deb.
talking, I won't stop.
I'm going to jump off too, Dano. Sorry to leave you solo, but.
Hey, it's all good, man. I only got an hour. I do have some good stuff to cover, though. It's definitely pertinent.
I'll be listening.
Lots of stuff going on tonight, huh?